Hello, everybody, and we are back with another episode of the Critiqueadors.
It's amazing.
I know it's our
Last
last
podcast.
run. It's the
We
We gotta take a
finale,
bow.
the end of year
Till we
party.
come
Yeah,
back
right?
next season, guy.
Maybe we're in talks for a spin-off show, but anyways, I'm your host Max Ciccone. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Michael Bessler.
I'm Femi Ishola.
And I'm Julia Chihovsky.
And we are back with another episode of the Critiqueadors. Now, what movie we have here today is good vibes. You know, it's a good time. Like the title of the movie is called It's Good Time. It
The
is,
movie makes you feel the polar opposite.
yes, exactly. It's a 2017 movie directed by Josh and Benny Safdie, aka the Safdie brothers. Stars Robert Pattinson, Benny Safdie, Buddy Duress, Talia Webster, and more. It's written by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein. Now, the reception for this movie is very positive. It has 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. It was a box office success with a budget of $2 million, grossing $4.1 million. Now, in order to begin this conversation, I think we need to look at the genre label for this. Good Time is labeled as a crime thriller. Now, if you ask me, I think crime thriller is a very, very broad genre that covers many different levels between camp and complex, so I think no matter what, it marks all the boxes, especially for involving crime and very much being thrilling. What do you guys think?
I mean, I would say because since it's so broad, you could kind of classify it more as Wild Night type of thriller. I like those types of thrillers a lot. It's like it all happens in the span of one night, and then shit goes down, it hits the fan, and it's like it all happens from one event. Like pulling him out of therapy and everything. So you could classify it more as that and make it a little bit more detailed.
That's one of the crazy things about it is there's the robbery that takes place, and then it constantly keeps telling us that it's been a week since the robbery when Nick gets arrested and everything. So the timing within it is crazy. But I would agree with it's like I think crime thriller is an accurate kind of genre for it. Max said like it's so broad that that's why it kind of fits because I don't know where else it would really fit because it there is crime that takes place and it keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire film. So I would say it does fit its genre. I think it works with it.
It's kind of a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The scale of what a crime thriller is could be like literally a comedy movie, and I could say safely that this movie is not the most comedic.
I mean, I could be wrong, but isn't Lethal Weapon a crime thriller?
By definition, yeah, it is kind of. But I want to ask you guys, how do you think this movie subverts the genre expectations for what a crime thriller is, or do you think it just goes up and above beyond wearing that suit like a suit of diamonds? 'Cause I would argue the second one.
This is very much not your regular kind of crime thriller, especially because when you look at the motivations of the main protagonist, when his brother gets caught, like obviously they're initially motivated by greed. They like rob a bank, they want money. But the brother, everything after that, when his brother gets caught by the police, he does all of that for his brother. He like breaks more laws. He assaults more people. He breaks more rules just to get to his brother, which is the moral twist that I really enjoyed. Because no matter like how deep into shit he got himself into, I kind of admired the protagonist.
Yeah, it's crazy, kind of like what Femi was saying. It's interesting because this is a crime thriller where you don't follow you have no cop perspective the entire film. If you guys ever seen like Heat, it's like it's pretty balanced between the two. The cops aren't really that good, and the criminals aren't really that bad, but it's kind of that gray area. And then in Good Time, we only follow the criminal, and we understand why he's motivated to do what he's doing. But he's also just when you think about it, just a horrible person, and he like hurts everyone in his path. So I think it subverts the crime thriller drama because it's rooting for someone that's not good, and the crime aspect is our main character needs to get caught, or will he get caught, or won't he get caught?
I kind of agree, but at the same time, I feel like it's giving tropes that aren't necessarily new. Like that concept has been done a million times over. I feel. I mean, I don't know if it's never been done in this exact vein, but Breaking Bad is a similar story because, I mean, about the motivations of the main character is trying to get his brother out, or it's almost something that he keeps convincing himself he's doing, and he just keeps hurting other people with consequences. It's similar to Breaking Bad in that way because Walter White, he's doing it for his family, but people keep dying. So how much is he really doing good in his world? And it's like the same kind of questions you ask yourself when you're watching Good Time. It's just a little bit more compressed, I'd say. I kind of want to talk about the production and like the intentions of Good Time. In an interview I read with Josh Safdie, he said it was very interesting because you're following this guy, right? And it has its themes of love, and they essentially wanted to show two sides of the same coin, which is the pure versus the damned. Does it make something new by attempting to explore it at that angle, or is it something that we've again already seen before? Because that is an interesting tension to explore, especially with Connie being so brutal and ends justify the means kind of guy, while Nick is kind of just being dragged along and is being forced into situations that clearly were not made for him. So I don't know if you guys found anything else behind the production of this movie that was worth noting.
I also read that a majority of the script was actually unscripted. Most of the dialogue was improvised.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess you can kind of see it since they're not speaking in like Shakespearean characters to a degree.
Very realistic how real people would respond to these situations. I kind of realized the writing was a bit different in the scene where the security officer, when they were hiding from the security officer and he was coming out and he was just yelling shit. He was just, oops, I can't curse, can I? Well, he was just yelling. He was just saying, come out or like I'll beat your ass, like stuff like that. And it was just like not in a way that it just felt like they were having fun with it. At the vibe that they were just having fun with it.
A strange movie to have fun with too, considering
Exactly.
the actions that they do, right?
I also coined the Safdies for doing this. Every one of their movies just feels so real. And one of the things I know about the production and with the Safdies in general is they are strong believers in just guerrilla filming, which is just no permits, no built sets or anything like that. They just go somewhere and they film. What you can actually get away with and what you can secretly film is pretty incredible. And in their very first film I saw was Heaven Knows What. I know almost 100% of it was just guerrilla filmmaking and no script other than like directions that the Safdies would give and tell the characters where they need to go. But all of it was just, like the bad parts in New York. And in Good Time, it's just like every place just feels so real and lived in, and it shows you the aspect that you never really get to see of like in a movie. It's like not everything's glorified. It's some things are just kind of awful.
I would say that adds many layers to like the grittiness and like
Mhm.
this is kind of like a realist film, like French poetic realism or Italian neorealism, how they would shoot on location and stuff, and they would use unprofessional actors, which is essentially anybody that happens to come in the background of this guerrilla filming, right? And it adds a lot to the character of all the sets that they either go to or happen to go to, I guess, by that nature. It adds a lot to making this seem like a very more authentic film, like you had talked about, like you felt when you watched it, because I also felt that too. So another thing I'd like to talk about, though, is how this film represents many different relatively marginalized groups. It talks about ex-convicts, it talks about mentally challenged, it talks about black lower class members. I was curious in what you guys thought about the representation in this film, because I felt it represented everybody in a relatively objective scope, while also imbuing some subtle like properties of each class, like for example with the security guard, when they undress him and they pour oodles of LSD into his mouth, forcing him to intake it. The cops are just like, oh, he's just another drugged out homeless guy just
Yeah.
shaking on the floor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's just chilling in the security guard outfit, and they don't question it whatsoever. Dude had lacerations on his head, and they didn't bother to check the security guard's fists.
It's very interesting the way like you're talking because like during the robbery scene, they're wearing these
Black Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And like it, just like every scene that has like an African American actress or actor is the black bank teller, the black bus driver, the security guard, the black family that he infiltrates, the little girl that he gets involved with. It's all these people were taken advantage of from their
Yeah.
yeah, from like this white guy who looks crazy, but everyone's so kind to him and allows him into like their home, and it's pretty crazy how like every character that basically he fucks over is a person of color.
Bit colonial.
Yeah. I mean the shit that like he can get away with is just kind of insane.
I kind of like how he doesn't like address it either, because I mean that would feel a bit
No, it's
non-authentic. Feel a bit enough.
and in his head, I would assume, like in Kanye's head, it's just like a means to the end, and it's just he's just taking advantage of people's good nature. Because like one of my favorite things that he always says is just, "Oh, God bless, thank you so much, God bless." You know, like throwing
Yeah.
God, like you're doing God's work. Thank you so much for helping me.
Using
And
buzzwords.
yeah, pretty much. And it's just the way they blend it in so naturally, and it's through subtext, but anyone could pick up on it. It makes it even more powerful, in my opinion.
It adds a lot of layers to something that you can peel
There's
back.
one thing I wanted to say. There are so many racist overtones or undertones in the movie, like we were saying, and it's crazy because the icing on the cake was when the dude who wanted to buy back the acid with the Sprite in it, the big fat bald dude, he literally said, "Yo, what's up, my N-word?"
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but he literally said that. I had to rewind it multiple times to see if that's what he said, and it was, and I thought that was just crazy. So yeah, race is definitely,
Actor.
I don't know. It's just the main protagonist was this white guy who was able to probably like make it as BS his way through like all of these problems, probably because he was white. And again, like all of the people that were transgressed or like hurt were black. I thought it was just crazy. Yeah.
It's one of the biggest things I want to mention is you get to see kind of like the aftermath or assume the aftermath of a lot of people he fucks over. Like his own Kanye fucks over his brother's life, his girlfriend, who's now in like lockdown, locked out of all of her accounts. The nice family that brought him in. He stole the grandmother's. He stole her phone, her granddaughter, and their car. The car is shown like it's not in great shape, but like, and you know like how valuable a car is. It's just, and then like the security guard too, where they literally spiked him, like they put liquid LSD into him, and none of the cops were like trying to pay attention to him. It's just they were just like, this is another homeless, drugged out weirdo, and they just threw him in the back of the truck and didn't even think about it, and just
Absolutely.
let this. And like when you look at him, one of the things I noticed was when when Connie was dressed up as the security guard, his shirt wasn't even tucked in, and they didn't even think twice.
Oh.
The cops didn't even look at him twice. But they stopped this young girl, and Connie literally says, "No, she wasn't. She wasn't one of the people who was like in the park. I don't know who she is." The cops still arrest her.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you won't tell us why you were here?" And it's like she was just walking on the street, like literally doing nothing. It's just now her life is ruined as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, you got to see Ray's demise too. It was the
ex-convict.
yeah. I was curious. I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on Ray,
something.
but we could do that later.
So no, I think it's a good transitionary point. Title itself was called "Good Time," which is a reference to getting let out early due to good behavior in prison, and that's probably why Connie doesn't seem to very answer Ray's question when he asks, "Hey, you ever been in jail before? You ever served time?" It's why he's a bit hazy. I mean, because when he start of the movie is that he's on good time, and this is what he decides to do with his good time. I think ex-convicts, it's an interesting representation because they'll do anything not to go back to jail. the ex-convicts we see continue to do crime whenever they're out of jail. So is that all they know, or is it something more at play? It could be the idea that there's no real other way for them to get ahead than to keep doing these kinds of activities.
No, for sure. I think they wanted to represent the system in a way, just the repeated cycle of going into breaking the law, going to jail, getting out, and having no other thing to do but to break the law again.
Yeah.
Like
And
the
how
cycle
it
of
affects-
poverty type stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much, for sure.
I think it really just highlights. You never want to talk about it because naturally people just don't want to. But they show the sad reality of it. It's like people that get out of jail just they have no one else except for their connections before they went in, and then they just relapse, and it's just like this constant cycle. And it's the movie shows like what happens with it just in the justice system, and especially in people with mental disabilities. It's shown through his brother. It's just so a little back. So I'm studying to be a clinical psychologist. So I actually know about a lot of those facilities because I also had a family friend that was placed there, and they're awful. It's these white concrete rooms where basically you drop off your family members that you don't want to deal with anymore. And it's just this it sucks all the joy, and it treats them as if they're not even citizens anymore. They're just like kids. And it's another sad reality where at the end of the movie, the only person Nick has left to trust is his doctor. And you're not really clear on whatever his doctor's intention is because you know it's not to really help Nick because it's like, what is he even doing for him?
But at the same time, Johnny is clearly not a good influence for Nick, and psychiatrists, I'm not sure, he's trying to keep him away from it so that he can begin healing to some degree. Even if it
Yeah.
does seem a little bit demeaning, honestly,
What the
he
interesting
needs that
thing is what the
separation.
grandmother said. The interesting thing, and it's told, it's like at the very beginning, you hear that his grandmother would verbally assault Nick, yell at Nick, and hit Nick. And Nick, the first time he reacted, they put him in the ward and they kept him there. And it's when Nick just stood up for himself, then they threw him away. And it's like its own prison. And it showed that like Nick is very like susceptible, and like the only person you could tell that truly loves him is his brother. Now what his brother's doing is not the best, but what is the best for Nick? And it's something kind of left for the audience, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Well, that about wraps up our discussion here. I want to ask you guys, recommend this movie to anybody? What'd you think? Overall thoughts?
I absolutely would. Mostly because there's no reason not to, but also because it's a film where I'd say personally, people I would be recommending films to are people my age, and people my age get bored easily. And I know for sure that this is a roller coaster of a film and you would not get bored. And that's like all political, principle, moral type stuff aside. So yes, I would recommend this film.
Yeah, I would also recommend this film. Like, even though it's fast paced, I feel like with the discussion that we had, it makes people think a lot. And even though like people don't really want to watch movies to think, I feel like when you watch movies that kind of reflect the society that we're in and shows like it highlights the problems with it, that it's kind of a useful watch and can really make you think a lot about the society that we're living in. And especially because we're the generation that's supposed to fix it and lead. I feel like it's a useful movie to like watch and learn about.
When I first
What were you
watched
gonna say?
this, I was not the biggest fan of this film. I don't know why. It was like something about it bugged me, but I clearly just did not have the right lens on when I was watching it. Because when I watched this the second time, now my favorite Safdie Brothers movie is out of the two that I've seen, which is this and Uncut Gems. But I would definitely recommend it. Is worth a deeper look if you want, but if not, if you want some crazy plot to happen that strings on a causal narrative chain, I definitely watch it. It'll keep your interest no matter what frame it is. Also looks beautiful.
Yeah. I again, to mirror everyone, I absolutely love this movie. Not only is it one of my favorite movies of all time, it's by my favorite directors. I've seen all their work except for one film they called Daddy Longlegs. But this film, like we didn't even get a chance. Like the cinematography, the lighting, the editing, the sound mixing, just everything just feels so real and just rounded, and
Score
it's
is
just
great too. Oh my god.
and the score is incredible as well, and it ends with an original song by Iggy Pop, and
Mhm.
it's glorious. um so yeah, this is not only one of my favorite movies, this is one of the best movies I could ever recommend. So I'm giving it a big thumbs up. Everyone should check out Good Time.
All right. Well, you heard it, folks. Get home and put good time on the screen and have a good time. You know, clicks just write themselves at this point. But we are the Critiqueadors.
Critiqueadors.
Oh my god. I am the host Max, and my co-host.
Michael Bessler.
Femi Ishola.
Julia Tchaikovsky.
And we hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you for watching.